Welcome to Nerd Barrage, I'm Matt. There's Brent. Today we're going to do a tutorial and review on Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery. This is by far my most favorite game of all time. Okay, so Spartacus, the show, Blood and Sand, see it, don't watch it with your kids. Frontal nudity, lots of boobs, lots of sex, lots of blood, lots of violence. This game doesn't necessarily revolve around Spartacus. Spartacus is just one of the gladiators that you can buy. And where the game shines is its ability to allow you to manipulate the game and your opponents around you. And the mechanics are super simple.
So the core game by itself plays 3 to 4 players. We recommend 4 players off of the base game. 3 players is kind of a little short. Then there's 2 expansions to the game, adds up to 6 players. 6 players is fun, but be ready for an all-night game. The main goal of the game is influence. And so influence basically is your victory points. But the influence is also going to change. So as you have more influence, you can play better cards. You can have a larger hand limit.
The characters you're playing are dominuses, or domini, or domini.
Domini?
These guys.
Each player is going to have a dominus, and dominus is essentially your house of gladiators that you're going to compete against the other players with. And each person's dominus is going to have an influence track to track the number of victory points that you have. On here, it'll have special rules for your special effects. It'll have your starting gladiators, slaves, and guards, as well as your starting money. And then over here, you have your treasury where you'll place your gold.
There are 3 phases in the game, and they're super simple. Your intrigue phase, your market phase, and your arena phase. The intrigue phase is where the fuckery comes in. The influence that Brent was talking about is very important. Top left corner is the amount of influence you have to be able to even play this. So I obviously wouldn't be able to play this card. I can actually ask Brent, can you help me do this thing that I want to do? That's where the backstabbing and treachery come in. I can tell him what's on this card, but it doesn't have to be what's on this card. So I can tell him, I need your help to play a card. Would you like to help me? Yes, I would love to help you, Matt. If this card says I get 7 gold, I'm going to give you 3. He says, yeah, I'll give you my influence. I could take all 7 gold and not give him anything.
Yeah, it's also how you build allies with one another or lose
enemies.
Or enemies. And you might not have any friends at the end of the game.
No. There's been some angst in our games, yeah, for sure. The bottom of the card is the gold value. So if you just want to sell this card from your hand, you can. So the second type of card that you'll get in the Intrigue deck is a reaction card. This one happens to be support from Rome. This one's called Jupiter's Cock. This one pretty much trumps everything.
Yes.
It's the best card in the deck. So moving on. Same type of deal with the influence. You have to have 8 influence to be able to play this. That's the text that happens, and that's your gold value if you wanted to sell the card. If Brent were to play a scheme card, which are the blue bordered cards, against me, I can play this to foil it.
So the next phase of the game is the market phase. So first you can sell cards and assets that you might have to the bank in order to gain gold. You can sell things to other players. Once you get done with that, you get to the auction mechanic where you're bidding on a number of different market cards. So in turn, you're going to turn cards over in the auction phase, and everyone's going to bid on that card that is face up at that time. And so they're going to decide how much they want to bid for that particular item. Put it in a fist out in front of you, and you turn it over and reveal that's the amount that you're bidding on that item. The person who has put out the most amount of money, in this case Matt, would take that card into their house, and then we would move on to the next item that would get turned over. We would bid on that item, and so on and so forth until we get down to the host. So there are 3 types of cards that you can buy in the auction. First you have slaves. They'll have their special ability and their gold value. You also have gladiators, which have different combat values. They'll have their also gold value in the bottom corner, and they might have a special ability to go with them. And then you have 3 different types of equipment. You have weapons, a special, and then armor, which will make it more difficult for your gladiator or slave to get hit. And then finally you bid on host. Host is very important. First, it gets you immediately an influence. The second thing that it does for you is you choose who is going to go in battle in the arena phase. The final thing the host can do is decide whether the gladiator in the arena is going to live or going to die.
The mechanic on the fighting is very unique. Brent showed you the market card earlier, and you may have noticed numbers on the side, and they're the combat attributes of each fighter. So this will tell you exactly how many dice that you're going to use. Spartacus happens to have 4, 4, and 4. It's pretty simple. And he has, what, 4, 3, and 4? Okay. So 4 is the attack die. That's how many I'm going to roll when I attack against his black dice. His black dice, he only gets 3. Now, the blue die indicate how many spaces you can move. So Spartacus can move 4. It also doubles as your initiative. And the interesting part about the arena battles is that, let's say I win the initiative, doesn't necessarily mean I go first. I get to choose whether or not I go first or I make him go first. And that's where the strategy comes in. The fighting mechanic, which I think is beautifully done. As far as your attack dice, we're going to fast forward a little bit, and we're in combat. And we'll show you how initiative works. He has 4, I have 4. You add up your total. 18.
12.
If I won initiative, that means I can either decide to hit and move or move and hit. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and decide to attack. So I will roll my attack die as Brent rolls his defense die. Now, the difference between these are as you line them up from high to low, and similar to Risk, you compare them with the opponent's die. And you're basically going high die wins. 5 and 4, I would get a hit. 3 and 4, Brent would have a save. 1 and 3, Brent would have a save. And then an uncontested die. If it's an uncontested die for my attack die, I have to have 3 or more to be able to hit Brent. So in this particular match, I've only hit him once. At that point, Brent would take 1 die from his pool, his choice on whatever he wants to pull from. And it's a balancing act. Let's say I'm down to 3 die, Brent hits me one more time. If I lose 1 die, that just means I've lost the battle. My guy isn't injured. I can just put him back in my pool. No more issues. If I have to take 2 die away and I only have 1 left, that is an injury, and I get a little token on the guy, and I have to roll later on to see if he's healed. The host can still kill you. Then you're done.
Doesn't matter.
The guy is dead. If I lose all 3 die, he's decapitated. The gladiator that wins in the arena gets an influence for his house, for his ludus.
That was really a bare bones explanation of how this game is played. There's a lot of strategy to it. There's a lot of different intrigue to it.
All right, pros and cons. What did you like?
First, the houses. So you have each house having their special powers, having their pictures on there. All of that, I think, lends itself to the TV show. But even if you haven't seen the TV show, this is still a really fun game. Second is the intrigue cards themselves, because they'll have different things on there, like the Jupiter's Cock card is something that's referenced in the TV show.
Right.
It just comes through so well, I think, in this game, and that's why this game will never be replaced with any other game in this genre for me. Yeah. Because I don't think any other game will do the arena battle and all the intrigue stuff with it like this game does it. There's so much strategy and depth in this game. There's so many things to think about, and to try and put that together in a coherent way that's going to win you the game is so much fun.
My pros are everything. I love it all. Like you said, I love the theme. The strategy is incredible. The game is such a simple mechanic. It's basically 3 phases. Here's the phase. Here's what you can do in the phase. Where this game shines is your opponents and what they can do with those cards and what they can do with their in the arena. The arena combat is incredible. One thing we didn't mention is you can actually bid on who wins. Not only do you have 2 players fighting each other, you also have other people cheering on their winner, on who they think are going to win. It's a really cool dynamic to have everybody at the table be in that moment. It's such a cool element, and they did it so well. I love the bidding process. That's fun. That everybody blindly bids, and it's like, how bad do you want this particular thing? So what don't you like about the game?
It's really long. I've found it that and the fact that you can set the influence to different levels about how long of a game you want is nice, but I still find that even if you set it at a lower influence level, you still are going to end up with a long game.
I think the only con I have in this entire game is if you're just not getting the cards. If you're not getting the cards and you're not building up your gold, you can't buy anything in the market phase. If you're not getting influence cards or anything that benefits you, you're just screwed. But you have to look at it as a way to manipulate others or get other people to help you. So it's a 5. Easily a 5. for me. I love this game. I absolutely recommend it to the right people.
It's a very in-your-face, screwing everybody else over. And if that's not your kind of game, then you're not going to enjoy this.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Absolutely not. I played a game where I did a very bad thing to my wife. It was a very quiet ride home after that game.
There's a lot of people that like either cooperative games or games where you're just kind of doing your own thing and it really doesn't matter there's an opponent on the board with you. This is not that game. Everybody that I've introduced this game to has loved it.
Right.
And maybe it's because I know who to introduce it to.
That's a good point.
And I'm not introducing it to people that aren't as aggressive players.
I would recommend it if they're ready for a heavy game.
Yeah.
People who are new to games, I wouldn't recommend this to.
Yeah. Okay, so you recommend it. What would you give it 1 to 5?
I'd give it 3.5.
Get out. Get the fuck out of my house right now.
I give it 3.5 because it's one of those games that I really enjoy and I would really like playing, and obviously I recommend it to people. Right. But there are times when I'll say, I don't want to play something that heavy right now. So I don't want to play it.
So you're going to play checkers?
Yeah. Checkers out.
Well, is there anything else you want to add?
Thanks for watching.
Remember, if you like us, don't forget to subscribe and share us with your nerdy friends. See you guys.